Hey, this is Jeff Garcia, four-time Pro Bowler, San Francisco 49er quarterback, and you're listening to Jim on Base.
The Jim on Base show has teamed up with my new friends at Old Hillside Bourbon Company. I got two of my favorite bottles here, Straight Bourbon Whiskey and the Straight Rye Whiskey. So whenever you want to get on base with that authentic Kentucky bourbon taste, make sure you visit oldhillsidebourboncompany.com, their social media, Old Hillside CO, or pick up a bottle at Bevmo and Total Wine. Old Hillside Bourbon Company. They'll always get you on base. Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Base show. For today's very special guest, we have on the four-time NFL Pro Bowler. He's a beloved former 49ers quarterback, and he's done a little bit of everything in the football world. Please welcome the great Jeff Garcia. Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Hey, you got it, Ryan. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on and connecting with the Bay Area. Always enjoy doing that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're in San Diego now, right?
I am. I'm in North San Diego. Been down here since 2009, and it's a great place to live. I can't complain about the weather or having the beach access nearby, but I do miss the Bay Area, man. You know, that was my life for at least half of my life. Was there in the Bay and going to college at San Jose State, playing for the 49ers, obviously a dream come true, but my family's still in Gilroy. I was just back there last weekend, partly because I was at the 49er Foundation event in Carmel Valley, but going through Gilroy, spending time with my parents, seeing my sisters, my family, hitting the local Super Taqueria. I mean, that's like what I look forward to when I go home. And, being up there just reminds me of, the greatness of the Bay Area and what it means to me and how I miss it. And maybe someday I'll be back there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, someday is coming soon, at least for the night, right? Because you're going to be at the Dwight Clark Legacy Series event, and that's going to be on May 16th in San Jose.
Yes, that's exactly right. Should be a great night celebrating the legacy of Dwight Clark, obviously, what he meant to the 49ers and to the NFL on the field and what he meant to the Bay Area and community off the field, all the things that he did as a player, as a management operator with the Niners, with the Browns. I mean, the guy definitely lived a great life, and now we're recognizing players that carry on that legacy on the field. I believe Dre Greenlaw is going to be recognized this year, and then you're going to have a quarterback panel of, hey, the great current young Brock Purdy, Alex Smith, who, dealt with his own adversity, being a number one pick by the Niners and the career that he had. Then obviously Hall of Famer Steve Young. And then there's this kid from Gilroy that grew up on a farm that, a dream came true playing for the Niners, that gets to be a part of the panel and have a great talk of football and just conversation.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. It's going to be great. And it's the fourth annual one, too. So is this your first time, or have you been to other ones in the past?
This is my first time being asked to attend, and my first time really knowing of the event. Not to say that I have been out of touch with things, but I was reached out to by Kirk Reynolds, who was, a great guy with the 49ers for many years. And so I was fortunate to be asked by him to attend, to be a part of this panel. But, now that I know about it, it's something that I would love to be a part of more often and be able to be, a fan in the stands, so to speak, and watch what's taking place on the field there.
Awesome. Yeah. It's going to be a fun event. And you kind of mentioned it. You're going to have some great fellow, current, and former quarterbacks on the panel, having some fun discussions that fans can watch. And I was just wondering, too, I imagine you knew Dwight Clark, obviously, by being around the Niners. So do you have any fond memory that kind of sticks out, or when you reflect?
I was able to cross paths with Dwight, not so much as a player, in his former years as, more on the management side of being involved, but just, a bigger personality in person, a bigger body in person than what you would have recognized on the field. I mean, back in the day, he was a big physical receiver. And obviously did a lot of great things for the 49ers. I remember watching the catch on TV, hanging on the edge of my seat as Joe Montana found him in the back of the end zone. But I know he was very involved with the team, with the organization, did a lot of great things on and off the football field. And then seeing the struggles that he went through in his own personal life, late in his life, and just the physical deterioration of him, but how his former teammates and even players who didn't play with him rallied around him, the organization rallying around him, obviously the DeBartolo family stepping in and taking care of him and a lot of his physical recovery as far as where he was living and how he was tended to on a daily basis. But I was on some calls with him and a group of people at one time, just looking at what he was going through and how can we help those who are going through similar struggles by what he has experienced, whether it was the medicine that he had to seek out in other countries, traveling to find the best remedies for him to continue to live a life and to help him live, as best life as possible, despite what he was going through. And so, just being a part of those discussions on those calls, I mean, it meant a lot to me to be involved and to just hear him talk about it. And, he's one of many guys that have gone through struggles in their post-retirement lives and been, who knows if it's because of the physical violence that they put themselves through all those years of playing the game, or if he just was one of those unlucky guys that, got struck down by it. But, I think it's important that us as players really build on our community of helping each other out, because that's another thing that we focus on in this event next Thursday is the help, the aid, the Golden Heart Fund, which goes out to helping former 49ers who are going through their own personal struggles, whether it be financial, mental, physical, all those things that start to hit these athletes later in life. And to know that there's support out there, especially through the 49er organization, trying to take care of some of their own, is a great thing to obviously be a part of and be aware of, so that people can contribute to it, can help out those in need.
Yeah, it's great stuff there too, and it makes me think, like you mentioned, you got Dre Greenlaw. He's going to be presented by Fred Warner with the Dwight Clark Award to honor his legacy, and it's got to be great for you too to kind of connect with current and former Niners to have those bonds, right, and have those maybe friendships going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I met a couple of the guys last weekend, met Brock Purdy in person. We had communicated through messaging at one time, but to actually meet him in person and to create a relationship there where, hey, maybe I can be of aid as a former player playing the same position, doing the things that I did during my time and the post, how I am preparing or how I prepared myself for my post career. And I think those are things that the young players need to hear from the ex players as to what they did or didn't do, the lessons learned, what I would have done differently now that I'm 54 and having gone through it, even though, hey, I was fortunate to have a great career, but there are things that I would have approached differently if I could go back and do it over again. Well, I can't do it over again, but what I can do is share that message with these younger players, this younger generation, as they go through it, helping to open up their eyes and reinforce the opportunity that they have in this small window of time and space in their life. We don't know how long their career could last. They could be lucky. It could be a 10-year career. For some, it's going to be a 2-year, a 3-year career. Well, how are you maximizing your opportunity on the field as well as off the field right now? And I think that's important for us as former players to be there to be guidelines or mentors for these younger players to really help them make the right decisions and maximize their opportunity.
Well, since you're talking about passing down information from your playing career, coming back now that you're in retirement, getting in front of an audience again and getting up on stage with the guys, does that kind of get the juices flowing?
Yeah, I think it should be a lot of fun. I think there will be a great energy, a lot of excitement surrounding it. I think it's a great ticket. I mean, it's less than $100 to come out to the California Theater in San Jose and be a spectator, be able to watch some of the greats of the past and some of the current greats all come together and be in one room for the night and hear some great conversation. I know that the GM's going to get up in front of the crowd and talk about the draft. And wow. I don't know if there will be questions coming from the crowd, but I'm sure John Lynch will be prepared to handle whatever comes his way. But, there will be a lot of 49er insight that will be shared that night, as well as like some history. Hey, some stories from Steve Young, from Alex Smith, from myself. Hey, some current stories from Brock and what he's experiencing and going through in just 2 brief years of being in the National Football League, but all of a sudden finding himself as one of the top dogs in the NFL as far as the quarterback position is concerned. Should be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. And like you said, it's a great ticket, and people can still grab tickets at www.dwightclarkaward.com. And not only is everything that we've talked about going to happen, but there's some great auctions, golf packages, 49ers signed memorabilia from guys like yourself, Joe Montana, Brock Purdy, and so on. And there's also a really cool VIP ESPYS experience where you get to hang out with Patrick Willis, Bryant Young, and get a tour of the NFL Network studios with your former coach, Steve Mariucci, and Kurt Warner, Rich Eisen. So I'm tempted to put some bids down. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there are going to be some fun auction items. I believe there's a Napa experience as well. There's all kinds of things that'll be presented there that night, and should be some fun, hopefully some fun fundraising opportunities for people to get involved in, knowing that their donations or their package that they are able to purchase goes to a great cause.
Yeah, yep. The Golden Heart Foundation. So we're going to put some links in the bio so people can get involved. And you mentioned, too, being in San Diego. You got to look good when you're down there. You got the beach, and you're still looking fit. So what kind of workouts are you doing these days? Are you a gym guy, or what's your thing?
I am a gym guy. I'm kind of a gym rat, old school. Now, at 54, I just turned 54 in February, and I have 4 young kids in the sense of teenagers, 12 through 16. And they're all very active, but I've started to feel the wear and tear of what I put my body through for darn near 40 years of my life. And, I have a hip that I'm going to have replaced. I had foot surgery 2 months ago. I had a knee scope a year ago. So a little bit of those things are starting to catch up with me, although I'm still trying to fight it off and stay active. I love playing in basketball leagues. I play in an adult football league that's 2-hand touch. It's not tackle, but I fractured my middle finger throwing the football in one of these old man football games because the rusher came in, he put his hand up, and my finger hit square in the palm of his hand, fractured my finger, came through the skin, and I'm like, 30 years of playing tackle football, I never broke a finger on a helmet, on a shoulder pad, in a tackle, nothing. And I do it in 2-hand touch old man football. Imagine that. That being said, the day I did it, it was a Sunday morning. I came out of the game. My girlfriend and I went over to CVS. She was my nurse. We bought everything to wrap it up, tape it up, and then we got on a plane up to the Bay Area to go watch the Lions play the Niners in the playoff game just this past season. So that literally happened like 4 months ago, but we didn't let it slow us down. We still caught the game and dealt with it, and then I got it checked about 2 days later when I returned home. But that being said, I like to get into the gym. I like to stay active. I try to lift weights 5-6 days a week. I'm not hitting it hard like I used to. I don't have the energy that I used to have when I was in my 20s and 30s and even early 40s. But consistency is the key, and eating right is the key. I'm so much better about my diet, what I put into my body. I don't need to eat as much as I used to. My portions are smaller, my appetite is smaller, all those things, and you can control that. And so for me, it's important to stay active, stay in shape, because I do have young children. They are active. I want to be active with them. Last night I sat out in the driveway with my daughter who plays club volleyball. She's 12 years old. We were out there for an hour. I was setting her up for spikes. I was hitting her to volley back. I was passing the ball, all the things volleyball related. And then we went into the little gym in the house, and she did jumps onto a board, and she did little footwork drills. And but she wants that. I'm not forcing it on her. She wants that, which I love. I love that she wants that for herself, and I can be there to help her and be a part of it. And, all those fun things that dads can be doing nowadays with their young people.
Yeah, I think I heard. Are you kind of like? Are you coaching them too? Are you doing practices or leading anything like that?
So this past year, I coached my son's Pop Warner football team, 12U division. And then I coached my daughter, who's a high school sophomore, in the first year that high school had girls flag football.
Wow.
So I was an assistant coach on her high school flag football team. So I was able to coach my daughter in that. And now I coach, my youngest daughter plays for the school basketball team. So today we have a game after school. And whatever they're doing, I'm usually pretty involved. Sometimes I say, you know what, it's time for somebody else to coach you, and me be able to watch from the sidelines and just, be a part of it in that way. But then at the end of the day, I'm like probably complaining about the coaching that they get. So I might as well be out there doing it myself. I also coach my older boy, is part of a flag football team here in the spring. It's Drew Brees' league here in San Diego. And we actually played against Drew Brees and his son a couple Fridays ago, but he's part of a 7-on-7 flag football team that I coach up on Friday night. So we have fun with it. It's not the highly competitive stuff, but they're staying active. They're involved. I'm being able to be involved with them. And, that creates memories that I look back when I was young, when I was going through that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old time frame in my life, and my dad was coaching my little league baseball team, my school basketball team, my Pop Warner football team, all the things. And so I was blessed to be able to have a great coach who was a college football coach be my coach and be my friend's coach at a young age. I mean, we had the best coaching around, and it paid off in how we played on the field. And I see what a difference it makes to have quality coaching, to have people that are inspiring you, motivating you in the positive way, getting you to dedicate yourself toward a common goal, work ethic, drive, commitment, all those things. And I'm just trying to now pass that down, like my dad passed it down to me, pass it down to my kids.
Awesome. Well, just don't chop your middle finger off in front of them. Don't do a Ronnie Lott,
You know what? My buddies, after I showed them the picture and I sent a message to them through text or whatever, a couple of them were smart asses like that. And they're like, well, Ronnie Lott cut his finger off. Don, why did you cut your finger off? I'm like, because I need this middle finger to throw the football. I think even though it's got a natural bend to it, it can still get around the football and chuck it a little bit. So no cutting any fingers off, man.
True gamer. Well, I am curious, as you know, when it comes to being active, playing sports, music kind of comes hand in hand, when it comes to getting pumped up and whatnot. So I am wondering, what kind of music are you into? Who's some of your favorite bands or artists?
When I'm working out, I tend to go toward either hip hop or some sort of new rock, like Imagine Dragons, Ex Ambassadors. I really like some of their stuff, especially some of obviously the more hyped up stuff. And then I listen to like Macklemore radio, because it's a mix of old school hip hop and his kind of upbeat rap and that sort of stuff. but I'm a big country music fan as well. I don't necessarily listen to country music when I'm working out, or it wouldn't be my pregame choice, but I love to go to concerts, country concerts, and enjoy those experiences. But yeah, man, I'm kind of a listener to a lot of different things. But I do have some of my go-tos. Rise Up by Imagine Dragons is like a favorite song. And back in the day, Boston, More Than a Feeling. That was, some of the old big hair band, classic rock, Journey,
There you go.
Boston, Van Halen, some of those bands back in the day, Guns N' Roses, when I was playing, those are the popular kind of songs for me to get going in pregame. And then, I was a big fan of like Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg. Those are always fun to listen to.
Well, those are some great names there, and I had Keena Turner on the show, and he had mentioned back in his day when he was playing, him and some 49er players, I think Tina Turner might have been playing at like Candlestick, so he said how they went to the show, they met her. Did you have any experiences like that where because of being a player you met some big names?
Well, we used to go down to the Shoreline,
Oh, yeah.
Shoreline Amphitheater there, because we were based out of San Jose, Santa Clara, and that always held some great outdoor concerts. I'm trying to think back to some of the people that I saw. I saw Tim McGraw downtown San Jose at the Shark Tank. Janet Jackson, MC Hammer. I remember going to see MC Hammer. Now, it wasn't when I was in the NFL. It was prior to my NFL days, but going to the Oakland Coliseum, or the indoor arena there, the Coliseum, and watching MC Hammer bust it out. That's a classic East Bay guy right there. Bay Area guy. And he could dance. And hey, we were probably wearing the Z Cavaricis and the shiny shirts and the slip-on shoes, trying to dress just like him.
The Hammer Pants.
The Hammer Pants, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I was wondering, I've been seeing some posts of you hitting the golf course. I think in Carmel you were golfing the other day. So do you have any dream courses that you've played or maybe want to get to one day?
Well, being down here in San Diego, I'm fortunate to have access to Torrey Pines. So I've been able to golf at Torrey multiple times. There's some great courses down here in San Diego. I'm not a great golfer. I'm a show up and swing away. I don't spend an hour on the driving range. I don't do those things. I've been a little compromised lately because of the hip and the foot and all those things. So last week when I was heading out to the Carmel Valley Ranch for their event for the 49er Foundation, I got 2 cortisone shots the day that I left, one in the hip and one in the knee, because I was like, you know what? I'm going out there. I'm out of my walking boot now. I'm in normal shoes. I want to play some golf. I want to see how I do. And actually, the swing, even though I hadn't swung a club for a couple months, it didn't take long to get it back. But there are some beautiful courses. You travel up the coast, get up into Oregon, Bend, Oregon. There's some great courses up there, some link style courses. I'm an Irish, Scottish guy, as well as Mexican. I would love to experience some of those courses in Ireland or in Scotland and see what it's all about. I don't necessarily have any names offhand, but there are some beautiful courses that I would like to experience one of these days. And, we're blessed here in California to have so many great courses. I've played Trump down in Palos Verdes, which is right on the coast as well. Gorgeous course. I think I'd love to play the course out there in Tahoe that they play the Pro-Am at.
Edgewood.
I don't know if I'm ready to actually be out there myself. Especially watching Steph Curry play last year. That guy's legit, and there are some legit professional athletes that can transition over to golf and play subpar golf. That's awesome. But you know what? I enjoy the game. I enjoy getting out with my buddies, and I take it with a grain of salt. If you don't put the time into something, you can't expect to be at the elite level.
Yeah.
If I put the time into it, I'm sure I could get a lot better. But there are a lot of other things that are occupying my time right now.
Well, speaking of putting the time in, it made me think of Candlestick, and you're getting to a point now with NFL players where not all the 49ers obviously have been able to say they played at Candlestick now as time goes on. So is there kind of like a special bond amongst other Niners when you went through maybe the weather and the wind at the stick?
Well, I think there's just that vibe that we all felt. There was a lore to Candlestick, a history to Candlestick. I mean, especially obviously they came from Kezar, but there were some great teams that came through Candlestick. The last Super Bowl title teams were at Candlestick. All those Super Bowls happened with teams that played in that stadium, and the history of those players, those great teams, the fans that got to witness that. Yeah, you look around the league and we would go on the road and we'd play in brand new stadiums and stadiums built for football. They were magical. They were awesome. But there was something about the feel of Candlestick, driving up to the stick, parking at the stick, walking in, going through the tunnel from the locker room to the field. It was pretty historic, and to be a part of that was pretty awesome. I've obviously been to the new stadium. It's a nice stadium. I'm sure fans enjoy a lot of the newness to it, but there's something that's not in the new stadium that was definitely there in Candlestick, and a lot of that was just the histories and the ghosts of the past. There were so many great players and teams that came through that stadium, and that has yet to been duplicated. That's yet to be duplicated in Levi's.
Well, yeah, we're still figuring it out, as you know, the whole Levi situation. So, since you are from Gilroy, did having friends and family playing for the hometown team, did that help you? Did it hurt you? Did it not matter? How did you kind of handle that as being the star quarterback?
Right. It was great. It was great having the local support. Obviously, every Sunday at home, my parents had the big Garcia tailgate going on and the burritos, carne asada, everything was happening. And, there would be 50 to 75 people on a weekly basis at home games that would be part of the crew. Now the downside was that there was a lot of ticket shuffling that had to go on. And oftentimes I was dealing with tickets 2 hours before a game, trying to put them in will call and all those things instead of just concentrating on what I needed to concentrate on. And that was the football game. Now, I didn't let it be that big of a distraction, but there are things like that can be distracting and can take you away from your focus. And as much as it was great, it also was somewhat hard during the difficult times, especially my first couple of years as a 49er, going through some of those growing pains, going through some of those struggles on the field. We weren't a very good football team. We were losing a lot of games, but a lot of the focus was on what the major change was within the team, and it was the quarterback position. You went from Joe Montana, Hall of Famer, 4-time Super Bowl winner, to Steve Young, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner, to now Jeff Garcia, who came from the Canadian Football League. Grey Cup champion, but came from the Canadian Football League in San Jose State. Not on the bigger scale or the big levels that Joe and Steve had presented to the team and came from, being a Notre Dame and BYU guy. But that being said, I try to do my best. I try to play as hard as possible and play with grit and no quit and all those things. But, that got difficult when your parents or your family or your friends had to read articles that spoke negatively about me, or listen to radio shows that were criticizing me. And my dad even called a radio show to fight back and protect his son, or defend his son, so to speak. But, I tried not to listen to the noise. I tried not to drink the poison that was being cast out there. I just felt bad for my parents or family when they had to hear it, even in the stands, when fans would, whether it was boo or yell at me or say negative things about me at times. I mean, they had to hear that. And that's the hard thing when you have family that's close by. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was a blessing. It was a blessing to have 5 years. Wish it would have been more. Shouldn't have been just 5 years, but that wasn't up to me. That was a management decision to end it after 5 years for me. But I really enjoyed playing for the hometown team, playing for the team that I grew up watching, idolizing: Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, Jerry Rice, all the great 49ers, and then actually getting to wear that uniform and run out onto that field and get my name called. I mean, it was incredible, an incredible feeling. And my family got to share in that with me. So it was awesome.
Yeah, it's great stuff, and makes me wonder, when you were growing up, you kind of said you idolized guys like Ronnie Lott, Joe Montana. Did you ever get to meet those guys, or were you an autograph kid growing up? Anything like that?
Hey, I didn't get to meet those guys until I was actually with the 49ers for the most part. Growing up in Gilroy, my dad was a football coach, so I was always at his game Saturday night, and then he had film session and coaching meetings on Sunday. So really my only opportunity to watch football was on TV at home. I didn't get to really go to many games. My dad had a former player of his who went on to Cal Berkeley, Rhett Hall, who went on to play for the 49ers, who gave my dad tickets one Sunday afternoon. And that's how I was able to go to a game. But I didn't meet any of the players or anything like that, which is crazy because I live down here in San Diego now. And like I said, I play against Drew Brees and his kid on Friday nights at the local park in the local flag football league. You have Russell Wilson and his kid playing out there in the same league. You have all these ex-pro baseball players and their kids playing out there in the same league. So these kids here in San Diego, in some of these communities, are surrounded by ex or current professional athletes. My son used to have Phillip Rivers' son in his class for 3-4 years of his elementary school before Phillip moved back to the South. And they grow up thinking that it's just normal, that this is a normal thing, that they see professional athletes all the time, that's something that they're going to be when they grow up. And it's like, no, it's not like that. It doesn't happen that way. As a matter of fact, the only time I got to meet current players during my early years of life, there was one time I attended a charity basketball game, and it was the Oakland Raiders versus the city of Gilroy, like fire and police department, right? So it was held at the junior college, and I remember Dave Casper was there, and then a handful of other Raiders, and I remember getting their autographs, okay? Then one year, and this is before that, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, we did a summer vacation, got in the Volkswagen van, loaded up, and we just started driving north. My parents didn't really know where we were going. We were just going to drive. Well, we stopped in Santa Rosa, and we checked into this hotel, and it was in the middle of summer. It was late summer. Training camp was just starting, and it happened to be the Oakland Raiders hotel. And their training facility was right there, their fields and everything. So all of a sudden, I see all these guys walking around like Ted Hendricks, Lester Hayes, Matuzak, Cliff Branch. Now, they're not the Niners, but man, I knew of Ken Stabler. I read his book, The Snake. They call me the Snake. I knew of these Raiders because I was a Bay Area fan. I was a fan of Niners, Raiders, A's, Giants, Warriors. I just was a fan of local Bay Area sports. And to be able to meet those guys, I was in awe. How big they were. I had seen them on TV. Like, it was really exciting for me. But those were like my brief instances where I actually got exposed to professional athletes. Other than that, my idols growing up were the guys, the 18, 19, 20-year-old junior college players playing for my dad. Those were the guys I really looked up to. Or on Friday nights, we'd go to the local high school game, watch the Gilroy High Mustangs play. And I wanted to be like those guys. I wanted to play for Gilroy High. I wanted to be on Friday night football right there in front of the lights. I wanted to play for my dad and be like those guys were. And so, those were my idols outside of like Joe and just guys that I watched on TV. John Elway when he was at Stanford. I remember watching him during a Saturday morning ABC football, the big Saturday morning game of the week. They were playing Ohio State, and I'm like, this guy is slinging it all over the field. Made me want to be like John and go to Stanford, and that was my dream school to go to, and those sort of things. So, it's different than what my kids get exposed to out here in San Diego, but I really appreciate when kids come up to me, especially when I was a player, because I knew how important that was to be a role model, to be accessible to the young fans, to be able to, put a smile on their face, sign something for them, all those things. And you know what? It doesn't happen as much anymore, but it still happens. And I enjoy that. I appreciate that. There's going to be a day where nobody's going to remember what the heck I did in my life. They're not going to recognize me as a former professional NFL football player. And, I guess I'll be left alone at that time. But until that time happens, I appreciate it when the fans reach out and show me some love. One of the things that I've been able to do since retiring is reconnect with the 49ers, go to games at Levi Stadium, go watch them when they come down to play the Rams, take my kids to games, experience that firsthand. And you know what? The fans always treat me awesome. It's like I never left. They show their appreciation for what I did on the field, which, as a player, when you get released or you have to go to another team, you feel like you either let people down or the team or the organization didn't appreciate you like you wanted or felt like you should be appreciated. And you know what? That's all water under the bridge now. Being able to go back when I did the TV spots for NBC Sports Bay Area and the pregame and postgame, just to reconnect with the fans was awesome, because I went in there a little bit hesitant, 10, 12 years removed from being a player for the 49ers. Now I'm walking in. Are they going to like me? Are they going to hate on me? Are they going to boo me? What are they going to do? And actually the fans were awesome to me and just embraced me and said so many positive things. It made me feel really good about my 5 years there with the team.
Well, speaking of your 5 years with the team, I was wondering, when I have guys that played baseball on, I like to talk about their call-up story. What do they remember about their MLB debut? So I was curious about you. Your first NFL start was a win, a narrow win, right? A nail-biter against the Titans. So do you remember any memories or jitters you probably had before your first start?
Oh, man, I remember driving to the stadium from the hotel, because we'd stay in a hotel right there in South San Francisco, San Mateo area, right near the airport. We'd stay in a hotel, and I remember getting in my car and just the excitement, man. The that feeling that goes up your spine, like the hair on the back of your neck, like standing up, that tingling, just that experience of driving in, seeing Candlestick from the freeway off in the distance, knowing that today, on this day, my name's going to be called coming out of that tunnel, running onto that field, and there's going to be 70,000 49er fans cheering me on, and that whole experience playing against the Titans in my first start, the Titans being a darn good football team that year, going on to the Super Bowl, losing to the Rams that year, and we go out there and I play a solid game. I throw for 2 touchdowns. I run for a touchdown. I don't make any major mistakes. I don't turn it over. I lead the team up and down the field for the win. I'm like, this is easy, man. I got this. Dude, we're going to just keep this train moving, just like Steve Young had it going. And then all of a sudden the wheels started to fall off. But that first game, I remember so much about it, just the experience of it. Heck, I remember an incompletion that I wish I would have made when I overthrew J.J. Stokes in the back of the end zone. And that one still like gnaws at me, like, gosh, I know I could have made that throw on the run. Why didn't I make it, man? But that being said, it was just such a great experience for my family. Again, my family and friends, all the people that went to that game to support me, to be there, to witness it, to be part of the excitement. It was awesome.
Well, you're living up to the Boston song, right? More than a feeling.
That's right. Definitely more than a feeling. I probably was playing it quite a few times that day. Just repeat, trying to visualize what was going to happen that day.
Well, speaking of some great coaches you played for, one of them being Andy Reid, when you were on the Eagles, I was just wondering, did it mean a lot when he chose you to be the guy over AJ Feely? Because he was kind of popular there at that time, right?
Yeah, I had earned the backup position in preseason. Actually, I don't think AJ was with the team during our training camp. I think he rejoined the team a little bit, maybe after final cuts or something along those lines, because there was already that history there where AJ had been an Eagles backup. He had played in games. He had won games for the team. And so he was kind of a fan favorite, but I had earned the backup position. And when Donovan did get injured, it was my opportunity to take advantage of. Now, my first start was a Monday night game against Carolina Panthers. And there was a moment in that game where we were driving, we were in the red zone, going in to score, and I get picked up and body slammed by their big nose guard, right? 330-pound nose guard. Body slams me, put his shoulder right into my stomach. The wind gets knocked out of me. I'm rolling on the ground. AJ gets up to warm up on the sideline thinking I'm coming out of the game. He's going to have to step in. And the crowd goes crazy. Crowd goes crazy and gets all excited for him to come into the game. Well, that pisses me off. I'm not coming out of the game. I'm getting up. I'm going to get back on the field. Nobody's coming in and taking this opportunity from me. Well, we ended up winning that game. It was a tight game, Monday night game. We go on a 3-game road trip. We beat Washington. We beat New York on a Sunday night game. We beat the Dallas Cowboys on a Monday, Christmas Day game. And I come back to Philly after that, and the fans just love me at this point. I'm doing autograph signings. There's lines of hundreds of people waiting outside of a department store to get my autograph, and it's 30 degrees outside. I mean, they're diehard, but it was a great experience for me. I earned the trust of Andy, which I think he probably had moments of, hey, do I start AJ because he's been in the system, he's been a part of this team before, he knows what we do, or do I go with Jeff, who, I knew the system as well. And I think that was one of the advantages for me going to Philadelphia, was that having been in a West Coast system, like I was with Mariucci in San Fran, and then again in Detroit, Mariucci and Andy were coaching mates in Green Bay. So it was a lot of the same terminology. Marty Morningwig was my offensive coordinator in San Francisco. He was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. So he knew what I was capable of. So it helped having guys there that knew what I was all about and having a system that was natural for me to run. And, I tried to do it the best that I could. And we had a fun year in the second half of that season and ended up winning the NFC East and going into the second round of the playoffs. That game still haunts me too. A game against New Orleans in New Orleans that we had an opportunity to win. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But, you think back to moments in your career where you're so close and you're with a team that is right there teetering on the edge of greatness, and how good you have to be in those moments in order to get the next game, the next opportunity. Unfortunately, we were just a little bit short in that one. Just like, 2 years of taking the 49ers to the playoffs. We had a great comeback win in the wild card game in 2003 against the New York Giants. And then we went and struggled against Tampa, who ended up being Super Bowl champs that year. But, it's one of those things where you realize, you see how difficult it is to get to that final game, the Super Bowl. And the Niners getting there this past season with Brock as their quarterback, with a good football team that should be coming back intact. You know what they're capable of, but can they measure up to that on a weekly basis and get there once again, it's not easy, but hey, they have the tools in the shed to be able to do so.
That's a great way to put it. And Jeff, one of my final questions here, since your time in San Francisco is so revered. I know you were number 7 on the Eagles and the Bucks, but you were number 5 on the Niners. So just wondering, did that number have any significance at the time, or has it become more valuable through the memories over the years? Because even behind you, I see the picture of you in the Niner jersey with number 5 on.
Right. Yeah, it really became significant to me in the sense that, the number 5, I related that to my family, my parents, myself, my 2 siblings. There are 5 of us, the Garcia 5. I wore number 5 at San Jose State. Now, when I came to college at San Jose State, I was coming from Gavilan Junior College in high school as well, where I wore number 12. And when I was growing up, 12 just seemed to be like a quarterback number. There was Roger Staubach, I believe. Jim Kelly wore 12. There were some great quarterbacks that wore 12. And so I just I'm surprised I wasn't wearing 16 now, because, he was definitely my favorite. But, early on in your life, you're just given a number. You don't really get a chance to pick it. And I wore 12 throughout my Pop Warner days. So then I just kept 12 in high school, kept 12 at the junior college level. Well, at San Jose State, a punter had number 12. So they just gave me number 5. So that became my new number. Through 4 years at San Jose State, I wore number 5. Well, when I went to Canada, I wanted number 5. Well, number 5 was a retired number, so they gave me number 7. So then I got used to wearing number 7. I had some, success wearing number 7, wore it for 5 years. So when I came to the 49ers, I was like, you know what? I like number 7, but the kicker was wearing number 7. So at the time, hey, I was a free agent signing a minimum contract. I didn't know anything about asking somebody if they give up their number or purchasing their number from them. So they gave me 5. So I went back to 5, and, that was my college number. And you know what? I loved wearing number 5, and I loved wearing number 7. Those became my 2 benchmarks. When I went to Philly, obviously 7 or 5 was taken by McNabb. So I had to make the adjustment and wore number 7. And, it is what it is. 5 and 7 they seem to be my lucky numbers. Those are good numbers. 5 and 7 on red and roulette, not a bad number to play. But 5 is what relates me to the Bay Area with San Jose State, with the 49ers. Loved wearing number 5 in the red jersey for the Niner home fans.
Well, it's interesting because 12 was basically your first number, and 7 plus 5 is 12. So
I mean, I do that same math. Hey, 5 and 7 are 12, all 3. I got it covered.
Well, I know it's been great to have you on the show, and I can't use up all your stories. We got to save some for the Dwight Clark event. But I'm excited to see you next week. And last question, what do you have planned for the day? What else is going on in your world? Just the game tonight?
Prep for the big game of 5th, 6th graders. And, hopefully my daughter finds the target and dominates like she's capable of. She's so much fun to watch and coach, and I love being a part of her activities. I'm going to get a workout in as well. That's important. And then maybe Home Depot or something like that. Hey, we'll see what the day has in store for me.
It's like old school. You don't know if you'll have time.
Not going to be Frank the Tank, though.
Yeah.
Just do one. Just do one. That's one of my favorite movies and favorite parts of the movie, without a doubt.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, I don't think we can top that. So thanks for coming on the show, and it was great to meet you. And I look forward to seeing you next week in person.
All right. Sounds good, Ryan. Take care, buddy.